Hello everyone, my name is Kira. Last time I checked, when I was in the insane asylum 2 weeks ago, and today, as you saw in the beginning, it is correct. It is not Bikini Wednesday. It is actually Armor Stand Saturday, where today I'm going to be showing you guys start to finish how to build your very own armor stand for like your Iron Man suit or whatever armored cosplay you're doing. An armor stand is a relatively simple thing to do, and watching videos I'm figuring out how to do it for myself. It was very difficult. So me being the person that I am, needing a little bit more of a hand in things, I had a bit of a difficult time. So when I was building my Mark 42 suit, I one, didn't really have time to do it myself, and two, it would have taken a long time to figure out myself because I didn't know how to do it, especially with the resources at the time. So I commissioned my friend a literate author to make one for me. But now that I have this on hand, I've been able to reverse engineer it as well as look at other armor stands made by Frankly Built and Kiara's workshop. And today I think I'm actually one of the first people to do a full start to finish armor stand build. So there's that. So I'm going to be going over planning, measurements, drawing out your plan, where to get some of the stuff, how to actually put together, cut it up, and make the whole thing. So I hope this video helps you guys out, and if you think it does, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment saying I don't know, what armor would you put on an armor stand? Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Because we all know if I put anything on the armor stand, it's gonna be my broken hopes and dreams. Basically what the Mark 42 is. So I wanna get into this because I don't want shoddy being in a billion pieces all over the floor like the Mark 42 was in Iron Man 3. God, you are so easy to make fun of. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so here's the first three things you're gonna need. A piece of paper, composition book, notebook, whatever you can write in. A measurement tool like this tape measure here for getting your body measurements. And of course a pen or pencil or whatever writing utensil. I'm sure you can find that around your house. So this part is very important, so that way you basically have a drawn out plan of what you're building, so that way you're not just kind of like guessing your way through it. And that's to draw it all down on this piece of paper here. Now you can see this crude-esque drawing that I have here. So it just has a bunch of measurements, the general shape of the mannequin, some of the connection points that you come across if you're putting together PVC pipe, which is what we're using. Now it's kind of important to make sure your measurements are on point, because if it's too big, your armor is just not going to fit on the stand. And if it's too small, well, it may slide around a lot. I don't think it's the end of the world if it's a bit too small, because as long as the armor fits on it, it doesn't need to be that robust. So if you watch my armor scaling video, which I highly suggest you do that if you haven't already, I already showed you guys how to go in depth about your measurements, what all the parts you need for that, because a lot of those measurements you'll actually want to use for your armor stand. Now, I don't remember if I put those measurements in ArmorSmith first before I made this, or if I made this after, because I made this sketch like quite a bit ago. But spoiler alert, at this point, I've already made it. So you will find out later on in the video why it's important to make sure your measurements are accurate. Because even though I got a better idea of how to do it, I still made some mistakes on it. That's fine, we're human. If anything, you can learn from my mistakes, that way you can not do the same thing I did. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the drawing itself. I'll show this up close, that way you can see like what parts of this you need to measure for yourself, like your waist length, your shoulder length, your torso length, your inseam, your thigh length and calf length, and your bicep and forearm length. The neck was a little bit difficult. That was more trial and error. And you may see this middle piece here. That is not what you think it is, you dirty dogs. That is a support so it doesn't fall over, because the style that I'm doing is a freestanding mannequin. There's a few ways you can construct this thing. You can make it freestanding like I am, with just a base and then a support going to the base to make sure it doesn't fall over, because I added support to this base after I got it, because I realized very quickly that the weight of the torso was making this guy lean forward, and it almost completely fell on the floor a few times and almost broke everything. So it's just a little bit of engineering advice here. Make sure you take that into account, stuff like that, when you're doing this type of base. Or you could just not do a base at all and just have that middle support piece and just turn it around, make it a lot shorter, and prop it against the wall, so that way you have one that will prop against a wall. Now, I chose this one specifically so I can just sit this armor wherever I want, no matter where I am, because I do plan to travel to conventions and hopefully guest at some conventions next year. So if I do that, I plan to bring this armor, possibly the Mark 42, with this armor stand or that armor stand, So that way I can just set it up at a booth. I don't have to lean it up against anything. It can just stand right there. It's so good for me. But it's ultimately up to how you want to do it. So yeah, designing it's pretty simple. Getting all your measurements is pretty simple. So now that we've done that, now we're going to be talking about materials and what to buy. So like I said, I'm building this guy out of PVC pipe. I'm using a 3/4 inch specifically for this guy. The Mark 42 is using an inch pipe. That's fine. It's a little bit overkill, but hey, overkill never hurt anybody. It's ultimately up to you. And those joints that you saw in the drawing, because I have some experience with it and everything like that, those are a type of joints you're gonna find at any store that sells PVC pipes. Over here in America, we have stores like Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, True Value, if those still exist, and a plethora of other types of stores you can get this stuff at. For the UK or any other parts in the world, I'm sure you can figure it out. But that's literally the only materials you really need for this. But later in the video, I'm going to be showing you an add-on that you can do to your stand to improve it just a little more, that you could add to your shopping cart if you so prefer, which I recommend doing that anyway with that material, because you could use it for the suit itself, which I'm being very vague for no reason for it. Watch the video. But with all that being said, I think I've yapped quite enough, so let's actually go out and buy our stuff for this. My home away from home, Home Depot. That guy has keys in his door and, oh God. Oh yes, I found it. The Taco Bell aisle. I think I like the 3/4 inch. Oh, those are long boys. You know, I wonder what would happen if I put this in my... It definitely got all the connectors that I think I need here. So I went with way more than 4 because I just decided to do a different design. So 2 for feet, 2 for supports, 2 for shoulders, 2 for hips, and 1 for the head. I'm gonna go with 4 of these guys. 2 for the shoulders and then 2 for the elbows. And if I need to, I could probably heat these guys up and bend them, which we'll get to that eventually. And we'll get 4 of these 90-degree pieces for the base. Of course, I grabbed 2. And we'll get 2 of these deep sockets here, aka these straight boys for the knees. I think that's basically all I need for now. We'll find out later if I forget anything. How can we forget our tools? This guy's gonna make cutting this pipe real easy. Like, look at that, it's ratcheting, so it just click, 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 click until it goes down. It'll take like no effort at all. So if you're cutting pipe, I highly suggest getting this. This is way better than a hacksaw, but hey, hacksaws will work just fine. Hello everyone, welcome to my bedroom, aka my goon cave, and it totally has not been a whole month since I bought this stuff, totally, so let's just pretend that it hasn't. So we got our stuff, we got the pipes, we got the cutters, I got the joints somewhere, I'll find them. But before we start doing any cutting or measurements or anything like that, Home Depot didn't clean their pipes, and I don't know why. It's like dirty on my fingers, that's why like I have gloves on, because it's gross. So I haven't dampened my rag yet, but I'm gonna be taking a damp rag, wiping over it just to get rid of some of the, I don't know what's on here. Home Depot, disinfect your pipes, by the way. I don't want to know where they've been. Put this in my... I'm gonna go ahead, wipe these guys down after I wet this, and then we'll get started on actually doing things. Alright, I think I got these guys mostly cleaned off. You could see like all that dirt in there. It kind of gross, man, kind of icky. So if you end up getting PVC pipes for your armor stand, make sure you clean it off, or make sure it's cleaned off, because it may be as gross as that. Someone leave in the comments down below if you know, like, if there's a manufacturing process or something like that that causes them to be this dirty when you buy it, because that doesn't seem right to me. Alright, so now I'm ready to cut my pieces. So basically I'm just going to be following my crappy little sketch here, measure them out with my tape measure, which I forgot to bring with me in here, that's fine. Mark it down with this Sharpie, cut it out, and I'm going to be labeling each part so that way when it comes to assembly time, I know what goes where. And I might as well give you a quick demo of how this guy works. So basically this is fully open now, and in order to tighten it down so that way it'll cut, you just basically hit the handle and it'll start ratcheting like this until it cuts your part. And then in order to release it, you just pull back on that and it pops out. It's very, very, very easy to use, and it gets rid of a lot of the work, so that way you don't have to be hacking with a hacksaw or anything like that. So this is a lot easier to use, a lot safer, just an all-around amazing tool. So with all that being said, let's get to cutting. Alright, so I just made a mistake, and that's a perfect reason why to show you to make sure your measurements and instructions to yourself are very, very clear. So I labeled the hip and the shoulder pieces on the inside as 10 inches, and I had the entire shoulder length as 16 inches. Now, because I have problems, I used the 16-inch measurement for this section instead of like the whole section here. So like this plus this plus this plus this equals 16, not this plus this. So I made all 4 of these pieces I made for the shoulders and the hips about 2 inches too long, because I kind of like took an inch off, so it would have been 8 plus 8 is 16, but I took off 1 inch because I'm thinking about how I'm going to take into consideration the connector pieces, which we'll get into that more when I do assembly. So it's not a big deal, but I am wasting like quite a few inches of PVC here by doing this, but it's a learning experience, and again, this is a perfect opportunity to show you guys why you should do that stuff. Like, you don't do this to yourself like I did. I'm gonna chop off about 3 inches off of these pieces, so I'm gonna take it from 7 to 4, so that way I can fix that mistake. And yeah, that sucks, but is what it is. Now, it's not a total waste because I'm gonna have 4 pieces that are 3 inches. Now, in order to make up the 16 inches total for like the whole shoulder, I'm gonna need 2 3-inch pieces, so I'm just gonna reuse those, and I'm gonna have like 6 inches of waste PVC, which again, it sucks, but you make mistakes and you learn from it, is what it is. Alright, so I think you got the gist of how to cut this up and how to measure, mark it down, whatever at this point. Because I basically finished up everything on the torso except for the neck piece and the head piece. Same thing. So I'm going to go ahead, finish up the rest of the cutting and everything, measurements, and then we'll come back when everything's done and ready to be assembled. You hear that, Shotty? You're finally going to be able to stand on your own like a real boy. I don't think he likes head pats. Alright, so I did some pre-assembly here. You can see I got like the majority of it together, but I'll show you guys later once I do the final assembly. But this is why you do pre-checks on like everything before you put everything together, and also just try and make some of your measurements tight, like your height and like proportion sizes, because this is a little bit taller than me. Like my head compared to like where the shoulder is. So here's the shoulder width here, and this is up here, and my actual shoulders are like down here. So yeah, this is like to like my nose. So I need to bring this whole thing down about 2 inches. The torso, I did measurement checks. Torso's good, but the thighs are a bit tall on this. So I just need to chop like, I think like 2 inches off the thigh, and that should be good. I think what happened is actually because of the connectors here, they actually do add some height to it, because these don't meet perfectly in the middle. These are like more like here and here. So like it adds like about an inch or two. So I need to cut those down. So keep these things in consideration when you're doing your measurements, because these things do like say like take like an inch off to compensate for these guys, and it should be okay. But yeah, they're fun. The rest is fine, so I just need to make this a bit shorter. Alright, as you can see, it's a little bit closer to my height, like maybe like an inch taller in this edge, which I'm fine with, because the legs on the suit are probably going to be a bit longer than my actual legs. So I'm still not fully assembled with this guy. You can see like I got the arms on here. I don't have the base all together because the next step that I'm actually going to be doing is using the heat gun to heat these guys up so that I can bend them to the way I want, because this is a bit too like wide of an angle for what I want. Because if you've seen in the movies like the Hall of Armors and like the resting positions of the suits, the arms are a little bit slightly out like this, and then the elbows are a little bit bent like that. So in order to achieve this with this guy here, I'm going to be using a heat gun just to bend these guys. I'm also going to bend the legs out a little bit to try and give it like a little more of a stance. So I might be extending the base a little bit like this way. So I might be extending the width of the base like this way a bit because of the legs doing a stance. Which I did grab an extra pipe from Ace Hardware so that way I can make the long boy for the support, as well as like extend the base however I need. It should be just enough. I think I have a piece lying around that I could use for that. But yeah, we're going to be moving outside and using the heat gun out there because safety first. And yeah, we'll be going to the scary world outside. Alright, so after I did all the heating and stuff, I'm now doing some test fitting, and yeah, this is why you test fit things, because I made the waist a little too wide here, so I need to chop that down by a few inches. So yeah, top part fits on fine, the shoulder pretty much cover this guy up. So what I'm actually thinking of doing is just shortening this whole thing. So like chop a little off the shoulder here, chop a little bit off of here, so basically shorten this whole thing instead of having to heat this up and bend this out and then chop that. But you could see like the heat mark there, because like on the biceps I just kind of didn't have patience. I just like left it on there and it worked fine. You're not really gonna see that, it's PVC. But on the legs I did the more proper method of doing an even heating around here. Now you can see there's a little bit of a hot spot where I just decided to leave it, but on the other side there's like no hot spot at all. That's a proper way. You're really supposed to do that. So yeah, there's just a few more small things that need to be done, then I think it'll be ready to get the base finished up and be ready to use. So yeah. Pow. Ooh, hey yo, jump scare. So for this next bit, I actually lost the footage. I don't know where it went. I must delete it or something. But anyway, we're fine. So at this current stage, I basically finished up doing the odds and ends on the mannequin. So I just did one extra thing here, and I did a little padding. So you can do this to help the armor pieces sit in certain ways, stuff like that, so that way it's sitting in the exact spot that you want it to be. This step is completely optional, but I decided to do it just to go the extra mile. There's a few places I'm padding this. I'm probably going to alter how I have it padded and everything when I actually like get some pieces on there and I finalize things for like the billionth time. But some areas you want to consider padding is the shoulders, where the armor actually sits on the stand, possibly your biceps, forearms, and the thighs, so that way you have the legs and arms lined up how you want them. Now in order to do this step, you need three things. You need some foam or whatever. I'm using this polyurethane foam, I believe this is. Yeah, it smells about right. I got this stuff off of Amazon. You could get like this, soundproofing foam, whatever type of foam you want. I just got this because it's really thick and squishy, so that way it's nice and comfortable. I'm mostly using this for actual suit padding. Some scissors to cut it out, and your hot glue gun, which I'm not going to count all this into the cost of the suit because these are all materials I'm going to be using later on. But yeah, enough yapping. Let's get that done. I think I'm going to call it a wrap on this guy. So I got this padded in a few places. I forgot to pad the forearms, but that's fine. I'm not really concerned right now about that. But I got some padding on the bicep to push the bicep piece out a bit. I got padding on here to keep the torso in place. I got this on here for supporting the head. And I got these guys on here to push the thighs like a little bit outward, and might put like a couple more here to push it outward a little bit. For example, if they're not pushed outward, they'll look a bit like the Mark 42 does, which looking at how much space is in there, Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to paddle a lot. Jeez. Or just not concern myself with it. But anyway, I'm gonna get this guy pretty much all mounted up with the armor that I have at least put together, and then we'll wrap up the video. Ooh, surprise! I recorded the intro and outro at the same time. Haha, I bamboozled you. I hope you enjoyed the video. I don't know when this came out in the order of things at this point, because I don't know if this is coming out before or after the printing and modification video. God, that took way too many takes. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, found this informative. Leave a like if you've been enjoying the series so far, and if you haven't checked out the series, we're building this whole guy from start to finish on this channel, so make sure you subscribe, turn on the bell notifications for all the fun stuff, because YouTube is not great at telling my subscribers of when my videos come out, and it's not fun me doing it myself all the time, so hit the bell, please. So make sure to subscribe to me on here if you enjoyed the series. I got an Instagram where I post a bunch of other cosplay stuff. I'm active way too often. And make sure you support the channel sponsors below and the sponsors of this project, Polymaker and Dio3D. And just make sure you support them. They're awesome for providing everything for me. Like, I could not be more thankful for this. And make sure you use my code Dio3D KK2050 for 20 to 50% off your entire order, depending on what promos are going on. That's pretty much it. Hope y'all liked it again. And until next time, where I maybe make the legs, maybe do something. I don't know what's coming out at this point. Someone please help. I'm unhinged.